It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we got another discussion video that's actually suggested by one of you guys. So shout out to Linger Lou in the Discord community for suggesting this. And this one's from Owl's FTA, titled Entitled Killers Are Killing Dead by Daylight Rant, which is in response to the MintSkull video that we actually covered previously. So we can link that at the end of the video. But with that being said, I had listened to about like the first 30 seconds, and it seems like they had a level of some self-awareness, because they did claim that they were indeed survivor biased. So at least they're honest enough to let that be known. Which we'll play that section in just a moment, so you know that it's actually in the video, which it'll be linked in the description for you to watch on your own. But we're gonna be talking about specific talking points. But I want to at least preface with some context that they are claiming that they are indeed survivor biased.
Them type debate is the main driving force of controversy in the community. It's been there since day one. It'll be here forever as long as the game's around. But I just almost entirely disagree with his entire video. And of course, it's like, yeah, everybody calls me a survivor biased person, but I just want to look at it from his words and really see if they hold true.
So as you heard right off the bat, we have an individual that's coming in and specifically stating that they're biased to Survivor, they completely disagree, and then that they're trying to sort of listen to it to see if it's actually true. Now, if you're already going in with the mindset that you already disagree with it entirely, you already saw the whole thing, you already sat there and said that you're biased to Survivor, and people already have stated that you're biased to Survivor, then I think, at least from my understanding, that means that you're probably still going to disagree at the end. You're not going in with an open mind. And that's why I wanted to cover this, because I need to really hear what the response would be, considering that this is a survivor-made individual and not somebody that's just like interested in actually having a conversation. So, which we have a lot of individuals that do that within the community. So that's why I'm like, at least we finally have an example of somebody offering their opinion in a video format that we can actually listen to. So let's actually get into the part with the MintSkull's thesis, just to hear if like they either misrepresented it or if they're actually accurately presenting the point.
For one, he says the game is easier than ever as a survivor, easier to survive, easier to escape. But it also says the video isn't about casuals, since the game is hard to play.
Yeah, no, that's a misrepresentation of the point, right off the bat, from what we understand. So that's not good. That's not ideal for us. What he was trying to say was, because we covered the video, what he's trying to say is that escaping is even easier than it ever has been. Now, at any point did he say it wasn't for the casuals? I mean, that's up to debate at this point, but that's not entirely what was stated. At least from my understanding. I've listened to the video, like I've said, I didn't hear anything about it just being not for casuals personally. But at least from my understanding of that point, it's like the casuals already don't understand how to play the game anyway, for the most part. So then those people are claiming that it's killer-sided, it's, oh my god, I can't win any games. And it's like, but you don't understand how to counter anything, so that's your own problem. That's not the game's issue. That's not a game balance problem. That's a you problem. You don't understand something. So you can do the research and do the learning, do your part, and actually understand what that is. But they're not really doing that. They then resort to complaining, which then leads to every nerf under the sun, every buff to Survivor under the sun that we've gotten as of late. And it continues to do that.
The vast majority of the player base is casual. Comp DBD is cool, but it's an extremely niche community, and beginner players obviously shouldn't be, subject to crazy ridicule when they're just learning. So he claims,
yeah, that's not actually what happened. And that's the problem when you're trying to say, I'm not going to use clips from their video, is that you're not providing the correct context, and now you're framing it in a way that makes it look like you're right, when in reality you have to actually show what they're saying. and then you can then give your understanding of it. Because if somebody is just coming across this video, didn't see the original, now they're fully going to be on your side off of the bat, because there's no context. There's nothing that's offering what the person actually said, so that we can then make our own interpretation, and that's already a problem.
Really, he's just talking about entitled survivors, but he never defines it himself, and it's basically something we have to interpret through the video. Which he starts off with a pretty bold claim by saying entitled players play like shit. Basically, if you're not good.
That's not entirely what was stated either. That's actually quite inaccurate. That's not what it really said. That's a completely like misrepresentation of what he actually said. He did not say that entitled players play like shit. He says that people are entitled and play like shit. Those are two different things that can be true at the same time. They're not entitled because they play like shit. They are entitled and play like shit. That's the difference. You know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, it's all within the language. That's why I always tell you guys to listen to what people are saying, read into what people are trying to write, because these are important things. Of course, if you frame it in that way, of course it's going to be wrong, but you have to look at it from an objective standpoint, and that's already, like, it's already been stated from the beginning of the video. If you're going in with the mindset that you're just already salty and you're going to disagree, you're never going to understand what the person has to say, because you're already automatically holding a bias. You're not trying to listen to what the person has to say. You're not listening into what their viewpoint is or their perspective. And you probably are one of the people that they're referring to in this case, because you don't have any experience on the killer side to be able to even begin to offer any take on as to how the game should be balanced and what the hell we're talking about as players in this game.
Good enough. You're the reason all these bad things happen to Killer, like Skull Merchant being nerfed, or any sort of game balance, almost having the slugging and tunneling changes come from the PTB to the full game. And even claiming that altruistic play is why survivors die endgame. You know, sort of excusing some of the endgame slugging and stuff that happens.
So once again, that was never stated, at least from the portion of the rant that I did see. Like I said, I didn't hear any of those things, like I said, because, and that's what I find really interesting about the DBD community, is like the fact that they misrepresent points and then claim it's wrong. It's like you're not even representing the point in its entirety. You're not even showing the part where he says that. You're saying that he says it because that's how you, in your mind with your bias, interpreted the point, but you never actually stated or even shown a quote. You didn't show us a clip. You didn't show us anything that will allow us to understand what the heck they're talking about. So as much as you want to say, oh, I'm not going to do a react to this thing, you have to at least include some type of evidence if you're going to disagree with a point, at least in that sense, because at the end of the day, you're just bringing up your own point that you made in your head, but that's not even what he stated. At least that's not what I've seen. And I listened to the damn video.
For one, he says Skull Merchant, people didn't want to learn the counterplay, so they got killed. Truthfully, even the counterplay, he explains, you stand still or crouch, you don't move. It's player agency. Like, it's not fun to play against.
It may or may not be fun to play against, but that doesn't mean that it somehow disregards the entire point. Like, there's plenty of garbage in this game that nobody wants to play against, but we still have to counter it. That's just how it works. It goes for both ways. Both sides have to experience that. And keeping in mind that Skull Merchant is not the only example that can be used for that. Because people on the survivor side are refusing to learn counterplay, that's why Onryo was also gutted. Because for some unknown reason, pulling a tape out of a TV was the most difficult thing to understand. When it was literally, you press a button and then you place it somewhere else. It literally highlights it, it blows it up on the screen for you. You know where to go. I don't understand why that's such a foreign concept. And by only adding to that is only making the game worse.
Okay, the counterplay is that I have to give them a free hit. All right, man. Like, that's not fun. Free hit killer.
But the thing is as well, it's like he's talking about fun, but no one's talking about fun in this situation. We're talking about the entitlement leading to the game balancing being shit. Where does the, oh, I don't find it fun, come into the conversation? Like, that has nothing to do with the point.
More context is good. Like, if somebody has a bunch of context about the game as a whole, that would be better for the most part. But people have opinions about their lived experiences all the time. And if you're talking about killer opinions, I'm taking an opinion of a guy with 1,500 killer hours and 50 survivor hours versus 400 killer hours and 400 survivor hours. Anyone would. Mint also says slugging and tunneling.
Yeah, no, he's just, like, once again, it's just like a straw man argument that we're hearing here today. Like, it's really, that has nothing to do with the point at hand here. Because I've already discussed numerous times about this topic, and I already understand, just from what MintSkull's talking about, that, no, we all pretty much unanimously agree. And then this one individual is, like, disagreeing because he made up a point on his own instead of actually listening to what MintSkull is saying. And that stems from the fact that bro has no understanding of the killer player. Doesn't play any killer, so he doesn't play at the level that everyone else does that is talking about this, to be able to even begin to understand what the heck is going on in the game. That's usually how it goes, and that's why a lot of people are very misinformed at this game, because a lot of people don't engage with each side more than they do, right?
Is mandatory if the players aren't bad, but it just doesn't make sense when you think about players on average. Comp level players are an extremely small group of them. And then there's everybody else. But a lot of people are experiencing slugging and tunneling. It's extremely common. So if you just look at things on a bell curve, like, you either are admitting that everyone, the vast majority of players, are good, or this is just some weird cope that you need.
So once again, this individual has no idea what they're talking about. I you know, respectfully, but they have no understanding of what the hell they're talking about. You're saying, oh, they're going against tunneling and slugging, like okay, congratulations, like okay, strategies. What does that have to do with the player's skill level on the survivor side? When tunneling and slugging is easily countered. So I don't really understand what they're talking about here. Like, this once again has nothing to do with the main point. And he's really fixated on this whole like player skill level part when that was only a small portion of the actual video, at least that I've seen. So I'm not entirely understanding what that has to do with anything, but here we are, you know?
That part. But I will say, truthfully, you can't force someone to play a video game. And if they're not having fun, they are entitled to quit. He has this idea later on in the video that if you're in a SWIF, you should be able to quit with no penalty, so that it's like only quote unquote losers, his words not mine, doing that. But doesn't realize, like, that would just make the game so much worse for killer mains. Like, you do not want that, because guess what? Those losers that you talk about, they will find a group to SWIF with, and they will quit every single game.
That's not entirely accurate, actually. Because keep in mind, right, if that were true, if that statement was true where, oh, everybody would find a SWIF, then why is solo queue the most common topic that every survivor player talks about? If that were true, right, if that were so true that every single one of these survivor players can find a new SWIF or something like that, then why haven't they done it? Right? That doesn't make any sense. Because now we're touching on another thing that's a massive talking point for survivor players. So then how is it that everyone is solo queue magically, right? Because everyone likes to claim that, oh, solo queue is the most common thing, when it isn't. That behavior already proved that. And keeping in mind, even with the solo queue discussion, Japan already beats everybody in the world when it comes to solo queue. Solo queues and 4-man Swifts had the same exact escape rate about 46% of the time. They were getting escapes on solo and Swift for Japan. The rest of the world, including the US, I think had like 30% or less for solo queues, and I think it was like 40% for the US on Swift, like 4-man. So once again, I have to say, what are we talking about? And like I've said, like, I think there's a massive lack of context here, because if you're not including the part that he stated these things and you're making up stuff, and then you claim, oh, that's what he said, it's like, okay, but we didn't hear him say that. Like, you're saying he said it, but we didn't hear him say that. There's no clip of him saying that. We don't know what he said. Because if the person listening to the video can then hear what they said and hear your interpretation, therefore they can maybe understand what you're trying to say, And then they can also come up with their own interpretation of what they said as well, right? So already off the bat, like I've said, like you're coming into this video, into this discussion, already mad as hell or salty or already disagreeing because you're biased. And you're not going to be open-minded to listen to what bro is trying to talk about. So already, like, this video should already be disregarded in that sense, because you're not even giving anything to the speaker. You're not trying to actually understand what they're trying to say, and if you actually agree or disagree with that. You're literally adding on to, which, mind you, one of the first things they say was the us versus them discussion. So usually when I hear that, that tells me that they're more interested in avoiding that kind of conversation because, oh, it's us versus them, so we don't want to listen to that. We don't want to talk about that. It's like, but that has nothing to do with the point. That has nothing to do with the argument. That has nothing to do with the debate, as they're claiming in the timestamp, debating his thesis. You're not debating anything because you're not even taking into account what bro said.
It doesn't go their way. So you don't want to do that. What you want to do is make it so tools base kit. It's literally how the game is designed. If you were going into solo queue and everybody ignored each other and it was just a free-for-all, survive for yourself, that would be much, much worse than what's currently happening. He then literally says, if you don't play at a comp level, you're a loser. Like,
bro never said that. But this is another example of what I'm talking about. He wants to say, bro said this, bro said that. And it's like, but okay, but where's the clip? Like, we don't actually know what bro said unless you show us what he said. That's just where I'm coming from. If you're gonna at least try to quote somebody or show what bro said, then like it's a video. You can literally play it back. You can literally timestamp it. You can give us the timestamp of when it was said. But we don't get any of those things. We don't get that evidence anywhere on the video. We don't get it on the screen. We don't get it in the description. We don't get anything of that. So how would we know if bro actually said that? So I'm like, nah, like that already tells me everything I really need to know. But I want to hear what you guys think about this video at hand today. Just let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Hit the like, hit the sub, man. And consider becoming a member on YouTube or Patreon, or even subbing on Twitch. I will see you guys in the next one, man. All right, let's go ahead and read off these wonderful members. We got Patreon, Crow Vader. All my YouTube members, Brando, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not J-Lo, Evil Peach, Hargan Falcon, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. Really appreciate you guys supporting, man. And if you also subbed on Twitch, just know that you got love coming your way too. Appreciate you guys, man.